So the first one, I want to train them. I want to train them how to be a good client. You can create great clients. It is a thing. When you get a client, often there's like a kickoff call, and oftentimes that client, the new client who's super pumped to work with you, shows up. They're not ready for that call at all. That call turns into you telling them what you need from them in order to do your job successfully. Sometimes that turns into 2 or 3 kickoff calls, and that's wasted opportunity. That's wasted time, which costs money. And I see a lot of scope creep and the profitability of projects get lost just in that gap between when they gave you the money to that first conversation and to when meaningful work actually starts. There's a few things that I want to make sure are happening in this gap before I ever start speaking to my client. So the first one, I want to train them. I want to train them how to be a good client. You can create great clients. It is a thing. And so what we want to do is we want to give them training that they need to move through. Typically, I want to cover things like how we work, what to expect, how to make this the most successful engagement possible. Like, here are things to look out for that are going to slow down our turnaround or put us in a position where we're not going to hit the reason or the result that you came here for. So we're going to teach those clients. You can do that through one video, a couple of videos. I almost like to think of this as like, imagine you created your first course on how to train your client to be a good client for the thing that you're about to do over here. You don't need to do that on this call. That's actually probably not a good use of your time and or a good use of their time when they could be doing it on their own, especially weaving in anybody else that might be a part of that experience.
That's just like when you're on an airline. So, stewardess or flight attendants would sit there and tell you the same thing over and over again, airbags, the whole buckle up and take care of people. They create actually sometimes really funny videos or entertaining videos to automate the whole process. So you're training passengers on how to deal with emergencies and how the plane works, where the exits are and what to look out for. So by doing this one video, they may have spent a little bit of money making that one thing, but imagine the amount of time, money, and energy that's saved each and every single time that runs on every single flight across all their airplanes. Yeah,
one of my mentors, his name is Brad Martineau, and they bring clients to their office for like 2-day implementation workshops. And so in his training, they actually have part of the video is like, hey, when you get to the building, like they have like almost like a vlog, like when you walk over here, there's gonna be tons of food laid out for you. Help yourself to anything. I'm gonna be over here. We're gonna get kicked off at this time. It's like they kind of create a virtual experience so that they know what to expect when this whole thing happens. And if you're not delivering anything that's in person, you can still do this. And I'm not saying, and I want to kind of call this out because this comes up a lot, is I'm not saying to be automated, like that there is no human touch points and no reason for a human. I'm talking about making the process automatic so that the actual human touch points are more meaningful and more intimate. I'm not trying to remove humans. I'm not trying to be robotic. I'm trying to be more efficient so that those little things don't fall through the cracks. And I basically turn the humans in my business into like super employees because now they only need to focus on a few things versus all the things.
Right.
So after we do the course where we start to let them know what to expect, I want to get them warmed up. And this might be like a checklist. I want them to actually start doing work before we get on the phone. Now, I don't care if their work sucks and we need to do it all over. It just puts them on the same playing field. Think about like this being on the same page in a book, right? I want us to be on the same page, not just in the same book. I want us to be on the same page. And often I've found that clients were coming out of the call not prepared at all. Like they were off in another world, and that's where the inefficiencies started. So I'm going to give them an assignment. Maybe I'm going to tell them to go gather some things. Can you go get these people? We need all of their information. Say you're doing a branding thing. You might need to know about their buyer persona. Well, maybe you give them a worksheet where they have to complete a buyer persona on their own. Even if you scrap everything that they do, they will be a better client and more prepared when they come here. We had a client, Elsa. She has a web design firm. They do websites, and they went through this process and they found that just by doing this, walking their client through what's going to happen, getting them in momentum, they took a 3-week turnaround and turned it into a 3-day turnaround. So their whole fulfillment process went from 3 weeks down to 3 days because of how much time they got back just from what the client was doing in this process. This is kind of where I'll start wrapping up is Think about how you can bring together these 3 ingredients to move your client to the end result that you currently deliver. So the first one is the training. If you find yourself saying the same thing over and over to every new client, record that. Create assets that get them involved in the process. Version 1 is what we talked about earlier, is just train them how to be a good client. Here's what to expect. Here's how to get started. This is what I need from you before the call. And again, the training, key piece here, needs to be taking people on some sort of sequential journey. Like there is a clear end destination. When it's a good training is linear. The second training becomes modular. You need to start bringing in people for the live prescription, which if you're only charging $97, it's not going to be very profitable for you to hop on and prescribe every new client 60-minute call and then give them the appropriate training. So we want to make this journey very specific, end-to-end, clear deliverable, and we start packaging slowly the training to help them get there. Guess what? They're going to have questions. They're going to want some help. So that's where you can offer your coaching, your consulting. You guys do it every single week in the pro group. There's a weekly call, and you guys all can ask and tap into, the wealth of knowledge from the brains that are on this call right now. They ask you specific questions. Hey, all right, so you watched that training. Let's talk about how that applies to you right now, or because of your situation. Here's the subtle tweak. This is where some of the initial customization starts to come in. And in the beginning, you probably will have to do some done for you, implementation, whatever you want to call it, some production. This is the path that you go on, and it's sequential. The first version is going to be a little bit more manual than the second version, and then slow tweaks. We don't need to map this out for 7 months, never sell it. I want you to sell it to a small group of people, take them through it at a reasonable fee, work it out as like an alpha or as a beta program, and iron out those kinks together with them. And you'll 100%, they will tell you exactly what they need. And the next iteration of version 2, they'll show you exactly what they need. And you'll be like, oh man, I thought they would have known how to do XYZ. I'm going to have to go create another training that shows them that, or create a resource that makes them get through this piece faster or overcome that obstacle. Depending upon what each of you do, and this is where a consultation usually is important, is there's a lot of courses out there that are like, hey, just slam this all into a 6-week course, right? Like, here's how to launch a 6-week course. And I see a lot of agency owners and service providers come to us and say, well, the second I had a question about how that worked for my unique situation, their model didn't work for me anymore. And so the ratio of this pie might look different for you as it might for somebody else. And over time, in iterations of this, you'll see the pie shift, right? Because as you get new problems that you're experiencing on this journey down here, and you create a new training, that might bring you less questions to your coaching call. You're like, man, I'm answering the same question over and over and over again. I should probably make a video answering it. And if somebody else asks that question, I'll just send them a link to the video first. And so you'll slowly start to see this pie shrink, and ultimately this pie can start shrinking over time too. Now that's up to you though. I know many clients that like being involved in the process, so you get to choose how involved you want to be.
I hope you enjoyed that video. Let me know if you have any questions by leaving us a comment, and we'll do our best to answer them. If you're interested in learning more about working with clients and managing your team, I have 2 resources I've made to help you out: the Practical Project Management course and the Pitch Kit. I'll leave links to them down below for you to learn more. Also, the full recording of this video will be available there. That's it for us. We'll see you in the future.